Have you been in here? I haven't been in here.
So we don't often use this bathroom because we have an ensuite on our This book's just come off this shelf and I blame you.
Why? We are back
and welcome back to yet another spooky Sunday. How are you all? Thank you for joining us. If you're new here, thank you for joining us.
So today we are going to be going through some stories with you that we have had experience but not managed to catch on camera, because for all we catch a lot on camera, there is a lot of things that we don't actually manage to get.
We've also been asked if we've had experiences prior to living in this house, and we do have a couple of stories that we thought we'd share too. Can you hear that?
What is that?
It's something like running water. Let's go and have a look.
Right, it's on a stand, so I have to take the whole thing with me.
It's the tap.
It's the tap. Have you been in here? I haven't been in here.
So we don't often use this bathroom because we have an ensuite on our floor. Have you been in here today?
No. I've gone upstairs to do all my business.
Okay.
Business.
Weird. Okay, we'll try that again.
This is something that would happen all the time. Taps are always running. No matter where we are, no matter what time of day it is. We've even captured it on camera at times where you can see the tap turning itself on and turning itself off. And we've captured that on camera. And quite often we would come downstairs to find a tap running in one of the rooms that has a tap. It's incredibly annoying. We never know how long it's been running for, and sometimes it does rack up quite the water bill.
Again, shall we? Right, so this is a story that I've shared. I don't know where I got to.
Start again.
This is a story that I've shared before, but on TikTok in a few parts. I had been asleep for a couple of hours, and I had I woke up, I was just stirring, and I went to turn over and I opened my eyes, and what I saw was a lady stood. So there was like, so you've got the bed, I'm here, Ben's here, and there's a wall here, and so there's I'd been spooning. I'd been spooning. You had
Standard.
And I woke up, opened my eyes, was going to turn over, and then realised there was somebody stood on, like, next to the wall. So like I was looking over Ben, and there was a person stood there. So at first my initial thought was, who is in my house, and why are they by the bed? It took a moment to realise that that isn't somebody in my house, although it was. It took me a moment or two, probably about 30 seconds, of watching this lady, this figure of this lady stood by the bed, looking at me, before I realised that it isn't actually somebody that's let themselves into my house. So I sit up and I'm kind of blinking, thinking, what on earth is going on here? This is really weird. It's like, I am definitely seeing this. It probably stayed for about another maybe 30 seconds, just looking at me kind of from the side. And then I think it was almost like I kind of like snapped out of this trance of looking at this whatever you want to call it. So I just like shouted out a sweary word.
Yes, a very sweary word.
And then Ben woke up, and I was like, and as I shouted it out and Ben woke up, she kind of faded away, which is really, really weird. So calmed down a little bit. I think it was more of a fright thinking somebody was in the house and watching us while we were asleep than being like afraid that I'd actually just seen like an apparition. So I drew a picture of it. We'll insert the picture
Somewhere. Anywhere.
somewhere around here, maybe. No, just kidding. We'll put it here. We'll put it here.
Yeah.
Went back to sleep. The next day, had another look at the picture that I had drawn and realised, or sent it to my sister, and said, look, this happened last night, and she was like, it looks like grandma, like our grandma, my dad's mum. And so she sent me a picture, and actually looking at her then, like looking back, I realised that it really did look like her. So
I'm so glad I was asleep for that. I'm one of those people that like deep sleeps, and then when I wake up, that no, don't wake me, leave me alone, even if you've seen a ghost. So this again is something that Lainey caught out of the corner of her eye, kind of it caught the attention of her before fading away. And to this day, we still have no idea who it was, but Lainey is still absolutely convinced that that was her grandmother visiting her because of the likeness and how unassuming, how uninterrupting, how it wasn't invasive. It wasn't like it was there, and she didn't get that feeling of despair and distraught from it. It was more of a comfort feeling, and that's what makes us, lead to believe that this was her grandmother and not an evil entity kind of lurking and looming over the bed. So this is one that happened to me when I was on my own one morning. Lainey was at work, I had to work from home. I just finished all my work, so I went upstairs to get ready to go out. As I was going upstairs, I walked up the first set of stairs and I saw a green ball on the floor. I thought nothing of it, so I just walked past it. I'm going into the shower, I'm getting ready, doing all that good stuff. And as I get out, I see this green ball on the bath mat, just on the floor. I thought, that's weird. I feel like I've just seen that ball. Must have seen it wrong in a different place, whatever. Anyway, I'm going and getting ready, doing all that stuff, and I hear a noise. And as I turn around, I see this ball rolling along the floor, and I thought, what? I've just seen it on the floor in the bathroom, and I know I saw it there because it was triggered. And I was like, why am I seeing this ball roll along the floor after what sounded like an impact against the wall? It sounded like the ball hit the wall and then it rolled along the floor. So, typical Ben fashion, got myself ready as quick as I could, and I got out the door. Actually, I did tell you about this one, didn't I? I said to you, I remember like you got home from work and I was like, look, I had a really, really weird thing happen. And then I told her the story and you were like...
I was like...
literally had no idea, but you thought I was pulling your leg.
Yeah,
because...
so I kind of... Well, no, I didn't think... Right, so for me, Ben told me the story and I was like, maybe like he's overlooked something, maybe he's... Like, I was just looking for logical reasons anyway. The last thing we always do is look for... is like go straight in thinking this is something paranormal. We always try and find like a reason. So I was like, maybe you kicked it without realising, maybe you maybe it wasn't where you thought it was originally, all those sorts of things. Until about 3 days later, we were in bed, literally like getting ready to go to sleep. We hear a strange sound, and it's the sound of something hitting something, or like the sound of like a connection being made with something within the room, and then like 3 or 4 bounces as if something's bouncing along the floor. And obviously we're like, what was that? So we both sit up, the light goes on, and then
this frigging green ball again.
And it's... Oh, we forgot to mention, the ball was at the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah, so again, as we were coming up, like, to bed, we did that thing where you kind of pass it and you're like, oh, that's there.
There's the ball again.
Yeah. It became a bit of a running joke in the end because, like, I've told this story and Lainey's like, nah, ooh, there's your ball.
Or I'll be like, ooh, we haven't seen the ball for a while, I wonder where it's going to pop up from.
Yeah.
So the ball, we turn the light on and the ball's there, in the middle of the damn floor. Now, I know for a fact that it was at the bottom of the stairs. But how did that get up there? We heard it hit the door, because we recreated the sound. We heard it hit the door and then bounce across the floor. We don't know where the ball is right now.
No, I haven't seen that ball since.
That was kind of like the start of things being seen together and hearing things together.
I think that was one of the first things that we saw together, but it's so weird because like the way when it happened with me and Lainey, it was the exact same as when it happened to me on my own. It was identical.
Yeah.
So
then I had to believe him.
Yeah. I was like, look, I told you, see? So this happened and happens all the time. Not necessarily just with a green ball, But with things disappearing, reappearing, disappearing, reappearing, sometimes it can go on for months. We'll have something disappear, neither of us will know where it is, we'll be blaming each other for losing it, and then suddenly it will reappear in the most random of places, and in places where we know it shouldn't have been. So one thing that was quite prevalent, especially in the beginning, was my wallet and sets of keys. My wallet would always go missing, and then it would just suddenly appear on a bedroom floor, even though we've been into that room multiple times that day, not seen it, and it would just suddenly, like it just poofed out of nowhere and reappeared. And then as soon as it would poof and reappear, it would also have the adverse effect and disappear as well. And things like this happen so often, it is ridiculous, to the point where we've tried to see if we can capture it on camera, and it's never been captured on camera.
Okay, so another story that I had that I would love to share with you was what I would describe as like a doppelganger moment. And I didn't even know what that really meant with regards to what I experienced until I was watching a podcast. I was listening to a podcast recently, and I was like, oh, that's what it was. I'm going to be talking about my ex-partner. He was raised on a farm with his grandparents, and it was up in Scotland. Absolutely stunning area, beautiful place, and we'd gone up to visit. We had a little Jack Russell Terrier at the time, so we would let him out of the farmhouse, and there was like a farmyard, like a courtyard. So you'd have the house, there was a bungalow, and then there was some sheds, and then obviously like different paths that led up to the fields and the barns and storage places and all sorts. So that's just kind of setting the scene. So I'd let our little dog Flynn out for his last wee of the night, and I was just stood there, just waiting in the kind of entrance way to the house. So not inside, but kind of just outside the doorway to the house. I couldn't see very well because it wasn't late. We were in the middle of the countryside, but there was a light that was kind of motion censored, and the light went off. I thought it was the dog, but it wasn't. It was my partner's grandfather walking in my direction from the sheds. So I thought, I mean, as farmers do, they're out in and out all day long, first thing in the morning, literally the early hours till late at night. So I called the dog to come in anyway, so he was heading in as well. And my partner's grandfather was walking across towards my direction. So in my mind, he was making his way into the house. So I left the door open for him. The dog went in front of me, I went in, left the door thinking, well, he's coming in anyway, he's going to be in the next few minutes. And as I walked through, I kind of got a kitchen and kind of like a thoroughfare through to the living room, and walked into the living room. And there was my partner's grandfather, sat in his chair. He had his own armchair by the fire, which sounds really stereotypical, but he did.
Yeah.
He was just sat there, so I'm like, well, who have I just seen then? So I turn around and I go back, and there's no one to be seen. So
That's
I know what I saw.
So it's another doppelganger story, isn't it? It's like,
yeah, really, really strange.
I think everyone's got a story a little bit like that though, like where they swore they've seen somebody, and then they'll go to somewhere and they're like, I've just seen you there.
I don't know. What do you think? Have you ever experienced anything like that before? I'd love to know your stories.
Absolutely.
Maybe we could share them on here.
This is something that we've had happen more and more, especially recently with doppelganger moments. This is not the only doppelganger moment that we've ever had. And the more recent ones have been more noises and voices, actually. To the point where myself and Lainey will hear each other calling our names from another room, even though the other person might not even be home, or we might not even be aware that they're not home. So I would often hear Lainey calling my name, and she'd often hear me calling her name, even though we're not actually calling each other's names. I hope that makes sense. I know it sounded a bit confusing on the way out, but we do have this often, and it's incredibly creepy when it happens, especially when you know that the other person's not home, so Lainey being out of work, for instance, and hearing her call your name, and to the point where it keeps going and going and going until you acknowledge it. And so I try not to acknowledge it, because a lot of people have said, don't acknowledge it, don't let it know that you know that it's calling on you. But it gets to the point where it's like, Ben, 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 and then you're like, what? And then nothing, just silence. It's really creepy, really terrifying when it happens. So yeah, not the only doppelganger moment we've ever experienced. So this story is a little bit of a weird one because it's something that we've both experienced but at different times.
Yeah.
I think that's how to describe it.
It was strange for me because I thought this was personal to me until it happened to Ben. So the crux of it is that I have, all my life, whenever there's been some adversity in my life, very difficult times, very like emotionally charged situations and things like that, I have seen a little white dog. A few examples of this being, when I was 23, my mum was very, very unwell and she was passing away, or she was towards the end of her life. I remember on about 3 occasions towards the end of her life, I saw this dog. So on one of the occasions I was carrying a basket of washing up the stairs, and he kind of entered my room, and then it was kind of on the far wall my bed was. Oh, how quickly she knows. So you would enter my room, my bedroom, on the far wall was my bed, and I was carrying this washing up, and I'd seen the dog. Now I had dogs, I had 2 dogs at the time, but the one had like a reddy, gingery face, they were Jack Russells, and the other one had a brown face. I walked in and subconsciously saw this dog like sitting on the opposite side of the bed, like just his little like nose and kind of, you know, this sort of front of its head poking up. So because I'm in the middle of doing bits and pieces and I'm rushing, like pottering about, I carry the basket up, I manoeuvre my way around the dog to put the washing on the bed to start putting it away, and as I look down I realise that's not my dog, and as I'm watching it, it just fades away. So that was really strange. About a few weeks later, I was on the phone. My dad had been to visit my mum, who was obviously very ill. She was in the hospital. Just having a quick update with my mum about my mum. Things weren't looking good as we expected, but so I was sat on my stairs. So we had the front door. How do I explain this? Here was the front door, here were the stairs, and there was a hallway that led to the kitchen, and then here was like the living room. So I'm stood on the stairs, I'm sat on the stairs, I'm on the phone to my dad, I'm getting an update about how my mum's doing, and I, as clear as day, watched a little white dog walk through the front door, which was shut, so literally appear through the front door, walk along the corridor, and then disappear out of sight. So I'm stopped my dad mid-conversation. I'm like, I have just seen a freaking dog walk through my front door, and he's like, well, okay. No, I'm like, no, Dad, it literally, the door was shut. I watched it walk through the front door, which was really strange. And there's been like many occasions where it'll just suddenly appear. We had like a lot of things going on around Christmas time this year. Ben was in the loo, and what was I doing on the floor? Oh, folding some washing. Yeah. Which is really weird. I think there's a theme going on here with washing. Yeah. And it was peripheral vision this time, but I just saw it pass through, and I was like, oh my God, I've just seen this white dog. But all I ever referred to it as was a white dog. Yeah. So Ben didn't know anything about it other than
I just knew it was a little white dog, but I thought she was going mental. I mean, she's told me the stories about it in the past. Actually,
I claim it. I'm like, I think that's kind of like a little spirit animal. Maybe that's some sort of like comfort is being sent for me to see it, because I need to know that there's like, I'm not alone dealing with this. Yeah, and then Lainey's told me this story, and I'm like, oh, all right, whatever, kind of thing. Thinking like maybe it's one of those corner of the eye phenomena kind of things that you hear about all the time. But we were upstairs, I went downstairs to get some drinks for us, and as I came downstairs, I've reached in, so we come into the kitchen and you reach around the wall to get to the light switch, so I've reached around the wall to get the light switch, and as the light's gone on, I'm like looking towards the sink, and along the floor, like I can see out of the corner of my eye, a little white dog walk along literally along past me, and then go out of my sight, and then I'm like looking around like, what was that? And it's gone. It's like literally just disappeared. Now,
I've got the drinks and I've gone back upstairs, and Lainey's like, what's the matter with you? You look like you've seen a ghost.
Because he literally came up the stairs like,
and like pale as a sheet.
What's happened?
Literally pale as a sheet, and then like, I'm like, I swear to God, I've just seen a dog, a little white dog. It's got scruffy fur, like, you know, like the kind of wiry fur. And I was like, it's literally just walked past me and disappeared.
And I was like, no way. And he was like, I swear it on our relationship. He was like, so like insistent.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I would always refer to it as a little white dog, but I knew that it was a Westie.
Yeah.
But I'd never told Ben this, so I get on Google and I go I say to him, like, find the kind of dog that you think you've seen online. And so he pulls up Google and I pull up, and we like show each other, and it's exactly the same breed. It's a Westie, and I was like, "You've seen my dog! It's our dog now!"
Yeah, and if you haven't seen if you've seen a Westie before, you know that they've got like that scraggly fur that like.
But they're very distinctive, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like they've got that like
small,
squareness
small,
to them, and
small head, proper weird.
But guys, have you experienced anything like this? Do you see an animal? We often will see like butterflies and things like that, but this is such a distinct, like, it's unquestionable. I would love to know what you think about it. There must be somebody here who knows about these things. Like, let me know. I really don't know what it could be. I don't know what it is, but I would love to know. So
absolutely. Since this last incident, we've actually never seen that dog again, neither me or Lainey. So it's really interesting that Lainey obviously sees it during quite prevalent moments in her life, and I see it that one time, and then after that, nothing. No more little white dog. I don't know why. We don't fully understand the reason as for the white dog, even now. So looking back on it, we're still just as baffled now as we were then. But there are some stories and paranormal experiences that we have encountered before living in this house, as well as living in this house, but we just didn't capture on camera. There are a lot of moments like this, and you're going to come to learn that not everything that we experience gets captured on camera, because especially during this point, before the CCTV, it was near on impossible to capture paranormal activity on camera. So, what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. What do you make of the little white dog and doppelganger moments especially? I'd love to hear if you guys have had any experiences with that. And if you've ever experienced a doppelganger moment, let me know that down below. And while you're down there, be sure to jump scare the hell out of that like button if you have enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe if you are new, and tickle my little bell so you get notified whenever we upload. And until next time, guys, I hope that you have enjoyed, and I'll speak to you later. Peace.